This video is going to permanently ruin Family Guy for you. Sorry. So the other day I did the Unthinkable, and watched a full episode of Family Guy's recent season. Vertically. On TikTok. I haven't seen much of anything they've put out after that massive ranking a few years back. I ended it completely drained. There was just something about new Family Guy style of writing that I found so lazy. I can only compare the feeling of watching it to having your soul sucked out of your body, just mindless. Now you can probably point to many reasons for why this is. I sure have. The characters being simplified, its lack of edge, the desperation for new ideas, and that's all valid. But in this video, I'm going to be discussing a different aspect of the newer episodes that I've always noticed, but only recently decided to look further into. And I think it's one of the bigger reasons as to why modern Family Guy feels so mind-numbing, at least to me. And it's that they keep making the same joke over and over again. Family Guy, in its 27-year history, has twisted and morphed, reaching a level of post-irony so severe that it now spends more screen time telling you that it's a funny TV show, rather than just being a funny TV show. Let me elaborate. There's no going back from this, by the way. This will ruin the show for you. It's by no means a new discovery, but fuck, if you never noticed this before, then be warned, you will never not notice it from this point on. Your life changes today. I think most can agree that back in its heyday, Family Guy's strongest suit was its incredibly fast pace. Most jokes were quick, snappy, and most importantly, caught you off guard. Compared to other adult cartoons from the time, Family Guy had the advantage of prioritizing jokes over story. If it's funny, it goes in, doesn't matter if it's a non sequitur or not. This lack of restriction in how their gags relate to the story is how they managed to put out episodes in their prime that consisted of hit after hit after hit.
Dude, those animals are so funny, they make me want to merge without looking!
These are all from the CM episode. And hey, if a joke didn't land, it was all good. There'll be another one in about, 3.4 seconds. They were putting out around 20 episodes of this quality every season. And I don't even like this episode that much. There was some level of expectation for the audience to be in on the joke. The show was so reliant on pop culture, so of course you couldn't expect a viewer to understand everything. But the sheer quantity of gags per minute, that's a real measurement, made it so that there was going to be at least something for everyone. But, there's so many gags in each episode of Family Guy that it must be hard when you're in the writer's room and feeling unsure of whether or not a joke will land. In other shows, a lack of consistent jokes can be forgiven if the story is there to make up for it. There's something else to take away. But Family Guy largely uses its story and characters as a vehicle to drive more jokes. And that's why they've mastered the art of a joke structure I like to call tell then show. And they have fucking abused it.
I gotta get to a stool for the one old-timey black guy musician photo anyone will ever know me by.
What is tell then show? Well, it describes a comedic technique in which a character explicitly states the premise, outcome, or nature of a joke before the joke itself is depicted. You could call it an example of an anti-joke. I'd say it falls into that category by intentionally using the punchline as the setup.
Awkwardly sit here while my mom gives your mom a tour of a house that doesn't deserve one.
And this is a room adjacent to the room we were just in.
Now, the earlier seasons weren't devoid of this type of comedy, and it's not even a style of comedy I particularly dislike. There are plenty of good examples of it creating some hilarious moments, even in Family Guy.
So I'm gonna practice by watching the party from across the street.
But I started noticing that around season 16 or so, this style of writing had started becoming so prevalent in the show, to the point where I don't think you can consider it anti-comedy anymore. It's just the whole show.
Bring in the terrible two involved girlfriends, guys. Let me ask a salesperson for help, like a complete beta. Excuse me, sir? Oh, you're helping someone else.
Can I talk to you upstairs for a near-the-vent argument? How dare you buy me?
We shake like that epic handshake meme.
You got a deal, buddy.
I guess it's time to say goodbye to the security guards whose names I never learned. Take care, Captain. Stay golden, Chief.
I guess I can watch The Office for so long that Netflix has to ask if I'm still alive.
I could keep going. And this may even, not sound like a big deal to you, which it isn't, but fuck me, just try to watch a single episode of newer Family Guy and count on your fingers the amount of times they do this exact same gag. And let me get one thing straight right away. Some of these jokes are funny. This style of comedy can be funny, but then they do it again.
Full of the greatest albums of all time and the employees who hate every one of them.
Hey, do you have the Eagles' greatest hits?
Yeah, it's under O for obvious.
And overrated.
And again.
Say, can we go to the next scene with one of those cinematic sideways wipes they used to do in the 30s?
And again.
Hey, you want to end the show with a to be continued meme?
I don't even know what that...
And it starts to make you wonder, are they just scared of you not finding their joke funny? That they have to wrap half of them around this meta idea that they are in the joke being Liam? I can't tell. But they were doing it so much, I couldn't watch any new episode without picking up on the sheer volume of jokes that consists of characters explaining the punchline before showing it.
I'm gonna spend most of the time here finding the courage to hold an iguana.
Here he is.
I'm not sure I'm ready.
And it made me start to question why I find this joke structure so ill-fitting of Family Guy, at least at this frequency. And then it hit me. This type of joke is the complete antithesis of Family Guy's humor. It is anti-Family Guy. Starring Retap. I've said it before, but Family Guy is at its best when its jokes are primarily following the most basic joke structure. Character sets up joke, we see it play out, punchline, easy stuff. It's not a rule, obviously, but I always felt Family Guy stood out by adopting a 3-panel comic approach, with Seth MacFarlane having drawn these comic strips ever since he was a kid. You can break so many of the show's most iconic moments down to this, from the very first cutaway.
You know, most of the world's problems stem from poor self-image.
Everything about this joke can be condensed and not lose what made it funny. Lois talks about someone's poor self-image causing problems. We cut to a weak and wimpy Hitler who is looking angrily at a cartoonishly buff Jewish guy surrounded by women. It's quick, it's absurd, but most importantly, neither of these segments could work without the other. If the characters just so happened to be at a gym and the camera panned over to show this interaction, it would mostly just be confusing. Lois's comment adds to the gag, especially comparing Meg wanting lip filler to Hitler. And without the visual, well, it's not even a joke at that point, it would be incomplete. And that's because the setup is vague enough that it doesn't indicate what the joke will be. And that is the genius of the cutaway gag. Not all follow this structure, some are a bit longer of course, but generally I'd say the strongest thing a cutaway can bring is the element of surprise. It's a complete grab bag, you never know what you're gonna get. Family Guy cutaways let you ponder for a split second. What does this mean? What is this building to? When Brian says,
Boy, that was more disturbing than that cartoon I saw the other day.
you have no idea what that could possibly be. You could be in for literally anything. And then you get the payoff. Whether or not you think it's funny is a different story. I do. Also, this is not to claim that they never do these kind of jokes anymore. There are still plenty that do this very well.
Now I am blind. How did this happen?
It was take your cat to work day.
But that is to ignore the sheer abundance of gags in this show now that consist of telling you a joke and then showing it to you afterwards. It flips the show's tried and true formula on its head, purposefully so. Instead of setup, development, punchline, the structure has now become punchline, punchline again.
We'll be out here eating pizza like we're in an 80s commercial.
Like sure, that can result in a funny moment, but it just won't stop.
Me, and very clearly not a dummy who he then tosses around. Oh no, I'm being tossed around.
Instead of every element of the joke being integral to it working, you're kind of just left with 2 consecutive ways of telling the same joke. You could use this.
Got nothing to do except create an excuse to touch the Target cashier lady I want to run away with.
Or you could use this. And you're basically getting the same thing. There's no benefit in including them both aside from the slight absurdity that they would bother telling you the punchline before showing it. It's like, okay, take that Bugs Bunny cutaway from earlier. If that joke were structured in the same way as these gags that plague New Family Guy, it would probably go something like this. Welcome to my Family Guy roleplay channel, subscribe. Oh, this must be that new Looney Tunes where Elmer Fudd finally kills Bugs Bunny. And then they just show it. Like, that is not an exaggeration. They do this shit all the time.
I'll say Brick Baker's gonna win easy. Look, he's leaned back with his feet up, confidently whistling.
You could have easily cut half that out.
I'll say Brick Baker's gonna win easy. Look. He's not very good at whistling.
Am I going crazy?
I'm gonna have to radio base camp for help on my Elmo phone.
Why did he need to explain that he was gonna pull out the Elmo phone? We could see that through him pulling out the Elmo phone.
You probably were already able to infer
wasted everyone's time!
The easy way out would be to pin this on laziness. The worst I'd call it is a safety net. If a joke doesn't land, then maybe making the setup this obvious and awkward will. But I also think these writers actively like doing these jokes, and, good for them, I guess. I just can't stop seeing it everywhere.
The whole show's just being relayed by some New York mook.
They're saying everybody's heard about the bite.
You didn't have to say that. It would have been funnier if I didn't expect it. I had to know if I was going crazy. I couldn't stop asking myself if I was overthinking things. Are they really that common? And so, I did the even more unthinkable. I watched all of Family Guy Season 20 in one sitting. Why Season 20? I don't know, it was a wrong number. And I made a tally of every single time they told this exact same joke where they explained the punchline before showing the same punchline. Guess how many times they did it? How many times they did this exact thing? Comment. Never mind, I'll just tell you. 84. They did this 84 times in one season.
No, because this is a regional commercial, it's gonna end just a half a second too early. But remember, call toot.
And I was being generous, by the way. See, they have two other equally overused variations of this joke structure, where they'll either show you the gag and then have the character explain what we just watched, or they'll have the character explain what we're watching as we're watching it.
This is what babies think happens at haircuts!
Counting those, that number would easily be closing in on the 200 mark, but I'm sticking to explaining the joke before we see it being made. At least with the others, we still get the shock of the gag.
Get the old team back together for a "what do they look like now" credits montage. That's what I look like?
But that is still an average of 4.2 times they make this same joke per episode, which may not sound like a lot, but think about it. You have to listen to the same joke twice, 4 times every episode.
Ooh, that looks scary. The House of Unskippable Podcast ads.
I wonder what's going to happen. You guys think they're going to start listening to a podcast that's filled with ads that they can't skip?
The big game was on the boob tube, but the biggest touchdown...
I think it contributes to that feeling of Family Guy phoning it in these days. These episodes feel as if they're dragging on and on, trying to pad things out as much as possible.
Fine, but I'm gonna tweet mean stuff at celebrities that look vaguely like you.
There's probably a larger discussion to be had here about meta commentary in general. I think this kind of joke structure counts. It's like the writer's way of saying they didn't think the joke was funny enough on its own. I want to add this layer of awkwardness to it.
I'm just gonna open this drawer that doesn't have the mechanism that stops it from pulling all the way out. Ah, darn it.
It shows a slight lack of confidence in what you're doing to me. Like you have to present the joke through the lens of irony.
And I'm moving in with my trash bags of bad poetry. The caterpillar.
Like, if you don't find Peter's bad poetry funny, then maybe you'll at least laugh at the fact that he presents it as bad poetry. I didn't.
Damn it, here comes another person walking to the same party. Let's stop so we don't have to walk with him the whole way.
This post-ironic stance has plagued modern media,
They fly now!
showcasing our current inability to be genuine and put ourselves out there without fear of not getting the reaction we wanted. It creates a distance between you and whatever it is you're doing or talking about. But it could also come from the writers sometimes worrying that an audience won't understand the references they make. Family Guy came out at a time when our entertainment was a lot more contained and homogenous. Everyone watched the same shows, was aware of what movies were coming out, what new games to play. The internet allows every possible niche interest to have their own corner. Someone is much less likely to understand the reference being made unless it's completely universal. Like, you want to make a joke where Quagmire introduces the guys to his new girlfriend.
Jim, meet my girlfriend, Yoko. Oh yes.
Okay, that's a fine idea, but what if they don't get the joke? How do we quickly explain what the punchline is here? How do we convey that this is the nice version of Yoko Ono? Do we even need to explain that? So, how did they handle this? Did they A. do nothing and let the pun speak for itself? B. have her say something nice to let the audience further understand the pun? Or C. have Quagmire say, "She's beloved by everyone close to me and prides herself on not messing with a good thing." And then have her say something nice anyway, even though he already explains the joke. This is not a big deal. I swear to God, this is not a big deal. But you gotta understand, I just sat through an entire season of New Family Guy. Let me vent. Despite my belief that this type of humor is used as a crutch, I can't claim that every time they do it, it's bad. There are plenty of solid gags that follow this formula that I find funny, that I laughed at.
Oh, hi, Meg.
That's not her. All high school theater tech girls just look like Meg.
There is merit to this ultra-mundane way of writing jokes. But it gets to a point where they're done in such an excess that it makes me groan anytime they appear. I think the show has completely exhausted them over the past 8 or so seasons.
The only thing that scares me is a sudden loud noise, even if it's only spoken.
Got clips for days, bro.
We were the envy of the
You
nation.
can't left, I don't know. Every show has their own unique voice. It's why something like The Simpsons guy always felt more like a Family Guy episode than The Simpsons. They just don't tell jokes the same way. So I understand that at this point, there are probably a lot of fans and even writers who consider this a part of Family Guy's thing. This is now one of their signature jokes, as prevalent as the cutaways. Why should they ever stop doing them? I don't know. I don't have to, jeez. I mostly just find it an interesting quirk about their current writing style, and even if I find it overdone, it's unquestionably a popular gag. Maybe none of my theories are true. Maybe they're not worried about audiences not understanding the joke or hiding behind post-irony. Maybe they just think it's funny. In which case, I guess the joke's on me. Fuck.